Welcome to the show, Kevin So, Chinese-American singer-songwriter and musician. You've built up a loyal fan base across the world for the last 15 years as a multi-instrumentalist, keyboard, guitar, harmonica, mandolin player in the Keb Mo Band. You've performed at Carnegie Hall and the Hollywood Bowl, and in 2007 presented the NYC International Fringe Festival Award, which was Best Music and Lyrics for Great Wall, which is a musical loosely based on your life. There's loads to talk about with you. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. Please do tell us more.
Well, first of all, thanks, Skyler, for connecting the dots. I'm honored to be here and be a guest on your show. Where do I start? I guess we could talk about the musical a little bit. It's a musical that was born out of a double album that I did in 2003. It's a double CD. You know what? Remember what those things are?
Right.
CDs, remember that?
Wow.
I did a double album. It was basically a response to my father suddenly passing away. I was only 29 years old when my dad passed away, and he was only 60. So,
Wow.
it's too young. And
way too young.
yeah, I had a heart attack. He passed away, and then 9/11 was around that same time. My best friend passed away to cancer. He was like, your best friend when you're like 10 years old. So, so he was like, we were close. And he died. He was only my age, 29, when he died. I had just moved to Chicago for the first time, like leaving Massachusetts. I'm born and raised. And the first time I left the nest, I guess you'd say. And I was like 28, and I was doing really well in the music career, doing what they call the folk scene back then. The term back then, before it kind of transformed into Americana today.
Okay.
But it was called contemporary folk. People like Sean Colvin, Martin Sexton. These names you may or may not know, but they ended up influencing the new generation of singer-songwriters. I mean, that year that I was living in Chicago, I was touring a lot, driving back and forth between my home base, Massachusetts, and Chicago. I'm in the prime of my youth, I guess you'd say. I'm late 20s, early 30s, and I'm working. I'm not only opening for a lot of names, but I was headlining shows of my own in different parts of the US too. So that's kind of how you do it, right? All the singer-songwriters were doing that, selling the CDs, right? It kind of climaxed at a point where I met this agent named Steve Martin of the Agency Group, big booking agency, international. I met the biggest dog, this guy named Steve Martin, not the comedian, obviously, the head of the Agency Group. This guy's been in the game since, whatever, 50s, 60s, and he saw me on the street busking in March of 2000 in Austin, Texas. You obviously heard of South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Well, I had become friends in the past year with a famous singer-songwriter, well, I guess you'd say underground, Mary Lou Lord. She kind of brought up Elliott Smith and dated Kurt Cobain for a brief period. Somewhere in 1999, we had a mutual fan, and that fan told Mary Lou Lord about me. And so she kind of sought me out, and we became fast friends. She took me under her wing a couple times, opened some shows for her in like Baltimore, a place called the Vault. And then I opened for her in classic Middle East down upstairs in Cambridge. It's a renowned rock club, singer-songwriter and stuff. Fast forward to March of 2000, she says, "Hey, I'm going to be in Austin. I always go out there in 6th Street and just busk on the street." She's known kind of her marketing. She was branded as a street singer, and she did that a lot. She played out in Harvard Square, busking, as they say, right? She's renowned that way, and subways too. So she invited me, like an open invite. Come down to Austin, be there like 2 a.m. I'll tell you where I'm at. And This is before social media, right? So we just cell phones. So I go down there, and, it's awesome. It's great. I made some money. I brought some CDs, and she'd let me do these tweener sets in between her. So she would play like an hour, and then she'd introduce, and she would have a big crowd around her, like 50, 100 people kind of always pass through doing my thing. And then I go back to my hotel or where I was staying. Friday night, it's rainy, it's kind of cold, and I just didn't want to go. All right. She calls me the next day in her Boston accent. She says, "Where were you? You missed out. You blew it." Apparently in the famous hotel across that where she busked. There's a very famous old hotel in Austin downtown that a lot of people, I guess it's like a 4-star, 5-star hotel. She says that he didn't come down, but someone sent a note from Neil Young, who was staying
Oh, wow.
across in the hotel, and sent her a note saying, "Hey, we can hear Neil," or somebody said, "Hey, Neil can hear you from here. Keep it going," or whatever, to Mary Lou Lord. So
Wow.
I missed out on that opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So next night, I'm not going to miss this. I go back. I'll see you tonight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday night. That's Steve Martin is staying at the hotel across the street.
Mm.
And he's with his girlfriend laying in bed and goes, "Man, that guy's keeping me up. I can't even sleep." Then he's like, "This guy is so loud." I was just busting it out. You're going for it, right? This is your chance. You got like 15 minutes to really impress whatever's around, right?
Yeah.
Stragglers, people. He's listening. And then his girlfriend goes, "He's pretty good." He sounds pretty. So he comes down, he's watching me. I don't know this, I'm just doing my thing until I'm done. I take a break. And he comes up to me. He says, "Hey man, I'm Steve Martin. I want to do something for you. I'm of the agency group." But he just gives me a card and it says, "I've been here at South by Southwest for the past 10 days trying to find some new talent. And I think you're the guy. I think you're the guy I came to see." Those are kind of like those affirmations that you need. And I had, of course, I meet a lot of people in the industry, right? Of course. But you kind of know what's the real thing and what's not. And a guy like that he was just like, "Hey, give me a call. Talk to you later. I got to go." He's a business guy, So I got his card. I saw the agency group and then I saw their roster and Martin Sexton's on that roster.
No, they're big.
So I was friends with him at the time. I had his number on my phone, not like we call each other all the time or anything like that. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to call him. Left him a message and said, "Hey, this guy, Steve Martin, approached me. I just want to know if this is legit, and I, left a message. Calls me like 2 weeks later. Says, "So, hey, Mr. So, so you got the big cheese. You got the big cheese, huh?" I was like,
Wow. Yeah.
so I mean, obviously that's what I mean. He was the main guy, the big cheese guy of all the agencies. So I was so that struck that relationship. Fast forward to a couple months later, I opened for my first gig was opening for a band called, I think it was Moxie Fruvis. They were a collegiate kind of bare naked ladies kind of band but it was at the Birchmere, which is a really nice venue in Maryland. And I've opened for a bunch of artists there. In fact, the last guy I opened for was Little Richard. So I was really lucky.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, so I get, now this is 2000. Okay. So this is like March, April. I get the gig, okay, he's legit. He's booked me a gig, not asking for a commission too. So it's like, I'm just a small fry in his giant, plethora universe of artistry. So fast forward to August, right? So I'm touring, I'm working. My father dies.
Mm.
Boom,
God.
right in the middle. So, I am not a victim. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you the truth of what happened. So in the middle of all this is happening, so whenever I get to New York, I would go to his office and just talk to him or whatever, meet, talk about things, and then before I knew it, I got a gig opening for a tour. I got my first big tour opening for Billy Bragg.
Yeah.
So you know who Billy Bragg is in the UK, right? So, and I didn't really, honestly, I didn't really know much about him, but I just obviously knew of the name.
Yeah.
So I toured with him. First show, man, Fillmore, San Francisco. That's my first gig. $500, 45-minute set. I mean, you can't ask for, and then I think Knitting Factory, and then I flew out to the Midwest, opened for him at in his band. This is you're going from 100-seat venues to all of a sudden 500 to 1,000-seat theaters, right? It's like, wow, this is the real deal, and I'm getting paid for it. And getting to, instead of selling 10 CDs a gig, you're selling 30, you're selling 50, if you're lucky, you sell a lot more. But the point is that I wasn't, honestly, looking back, of course, I wasn't really as prepared as I wish I was, right? You're just trying to do the gig. And also, what's going on is trying not to get a big head. You're trying to keep it together, trying to keep your composure and understand, this is success. And what does it mean? Of course, and as all this is happening, it's bittersweet because I'm dealing with the death of my dad.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, this is a big loss. This guy
Yeah.
was, you know, and my mother and I, to be honest, it was like we didn't get along. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
looking back, I realized we were too much alike. But she was just trying to protect me. I was the youngest child. I was in the music business. She was like, "You need a backup plan. You need to do something. You got to figure out, like, you can't just do this." And I think she was just afraid of seeing. I mean, you got to understand that this is the late 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
There weren't any Asian guys like me out there in the music scene or pop music scene. And that's all she paid attention to. She's not thinking about the folk scene. And in the any music scene, and you're still like that today, of course.
Yeah.
You don't see guys like me, Asian, Chinese guy. There's another dude who's making some noise in Nashville, this guy, Gabe Lee, give him some shout out. I got that big break opening for Billy Bragg, and then Joe Cocker happened before the Billy Bragg. I got to open for Joe Cocker one night.
Yeah.
I got paid. I'm not going to say how much I got paid, very little, but I got to play the Beacon Theater in New York. I
There
mean,
you go. You look at that. I met you in Napa. I met you in Napa, man.
Napa, California. Yeah. I was in Keb Mo Band.
In the wine country. And
Napa Valley.
Vale was playing bass.
Yep. Vale is big brother to me.
In 1989, I toured with Kenny G, and Vale was the bass player.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I seen him. You know what I mean? It was out of this world. But man, you're so talented, man. I mean, like you play several instruments and sing. Do you write social conscious musical lyrics?
Yeah, of course. In fact, that's why I got the gig opening for Billy Bragg.
Okay.
Because he really liked the song. I was on I remember the whole process. Like I was on a short list. It was down to like 3 artists, and then I got the call that I got the gig. Actually, we were just leaving the lawyer's office dealing with the estate for my father. We're leaving, dealing. It's a sad day kind of to dealing with checks and money and all this stuff. But in a way, it was like, turning a page. And it's like, hey, you got the gig. And it's like, awesome.
What was the song?
It was called Just Like You, I'm an American. It was based on this Michelle Kwan, this ice skater.
Okay.
And I guess she took the silver medal in the Olympics. I think it's 1998. And then
I remember.
And then MSNBC, I guess they posted this headline. It said, American beats Kwan.
That's crazy.
Right. Because, so I wrote, and I think, around that time I was in jury duty. Apparently not paying as much attention as I probably should have, but I did. I served my time. I did the jury duty. And I was like, when they give you, I'm like writing lyrics, it's just called Just Like You, I'm an American. Michelle Kwan is American. And Jay Leong is an American too. My last name's Wong, but I'm an American. I'm an American just like you.
That's a video, man. That could be a video. Easy.
Right. Thank you. But that song has taken me, it definitely, it's one of those things where you just being almost casual about it. And in a way I am, because I've just learned to accept that, hey man, just because an individual is a jerk doesn't mean the whole group of people are that way. You know what I mean? You just have to, you got to stay focused on, we
got to take racism out of music.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, you realize
take image out of music. The way you look has nothing to do with the way you sound. If we walked in a dark room right now, and you was playing, nobody's thinking about, I'll put the lights on so I can see what race they are. Nobody's thinking about that, right?
I mean, of course, but you can't deny that that's a big part of it. I mean, I guess it just takes time. I think it's a cultural thing too, because I always say, I've said this in interviews before, that for every Chinese American who's trying to make it in the American music business, there's like 50 to 100, Black American guys who want to be the next Usher. You know what I mean? I've been to these contests where, you see so many Black artists, in an audition, and I'm the Asian. I'm like, hey, where are my Asian brothers and sisters? Well, they're not there. So look, it's no one's barring them from entering and auditioning. That's what I mean. There's just few of us.
You see what's going on with Beyonce right now. She got a #1 hit
Right,
country.
yeah, with the country song. Yeah,
and they won't let her in the academy. Okay, that's sick.
things take time. I mean, to be fair, there's so much more than it's about the music, I'm sure. There are lawyers, there's things, there are agents. I mean, everybody's trying to, there's a big pizza pie
Absolutely.
you want, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants a slice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? As they say, don't blame the player, blame the game.
That's
And
There you go.
until the game changes, it's like, but thankfully there are new games. There are
Well-
things like the internet, in a way, like YouTube. We
Yeah,
can put
well,
this out there and
yeah.
just keep it real to, until we have to go to Rumble.
That's what music global change is about.
No, I don't underestimate the power of
Okay.
music, and that's why I do this.
I briefly mentioned it in the intro there. You played in Carnegie Hall. I mean, that's huge to play that. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I wish I could. It's kind of a soft brag because because I did
Like that.
I did play on that stage. I was backing up Keb. It was a really snowy night.
Yeah.
Huge crazy snowstorm or something, and then he called me out of the blue. I was living in Jersey at the time, Hoboken, so not far from right in Manhattan. He said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I don't know, it's like 11:30 in the morning." He says, "Come down to Carnegie Hall, man. Bring a guitar. I'm here." And I said, and I'm looking at the weather, snow, but
You
gotta
do
go.
it.
So I get on the train, I get dressed, I figure, okay, I better think, I'm not going to come back home. Let me get, I think I called him back, said, am I going home? And it's like, I don't know. He's like, and I look out the window, it's so much snow. I'm like, this is a one-way,
Yeah, for sure.
two-way trip. So I go there and I brought the guitar, and it was this big fundraiser. And he was part of it. So I got to meet Steve Earle. I met a few other artists there, and it was, I think Vampire Weekend was a band there. They were up and coming. They were there. But yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, got to be in Carnegie Hall and look up on that stage and feel the energy. And it was just him and me. And I have a couple pictures of that too. But
Amazing.
he was doing a couple songs, and I'm just on the guitar trying to not embarrass myself or him.
There's nothing in the world like performing for music lovers.
Yeah.
Whether you're in a bar, a pub, you know what I mean? You got listeners that fall in love with your sound.
I just want to know for our viewers just how you can see what you've been up to. Are you on social media? Got a website?
Yeah, kevinso.com, KEVINSO.com.
Okay.
And that'll, lead you to my, I got IG handles, Kevin So World. Got YouTube /Kevin So.
Yeah.
Facebook is just Kevin So Music. And you always go to the website, kevinso.com, and you'll find more there. Or you can always go to, I also have the handle sexyasianman.com.
Of course.
Sam,
why wouldn't you?
Sexy Asian man, not man, singular. And that'll bring you directly to kevinso.com.
Fair enough.
That's where you'll find me. I'm going to be on tour starting April 28.
Okay.
And, playing in all different cities, also ending in Chicago and Cleveland. Chicago on June 22nd and Cleveland June 26th.
What's coming up?
Wonderful.
It's on my website.
Bless you for the privilege of your time.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Thank you too.
Thanks so much, my brother. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste. Yeah.
Take care.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.